Okay, it's $10.
When you buy a guitar, it doesn't mean you're automatically a musician. Likewise, with a gun, just because you buy one, it doesn't mean you're automatically protected. In studio, actually on the phone, is John Dillon to talk about the top 5 things new gun owners ought to know.
But first, if you have legal matters that involve firearms, then you really need to call our California firearms lawyer, John Dillon. Especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150, or you can visit his website at DillonLawGP.com. Mr. Dillon, welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys?
What's up,
Not
dude?
bad. How are the kids?
Kids are doing well. They're growing too fast.
I figured that's why you're not in studio.
Yeah. No, I'm just living the farm life up here.
Oh, that's right. You are a farmer now.
Well,
He is.
He is.
You know, can you tell him about your livestock? Your
Yeah, how
latest-
much have you got now?
yeah, I have chickens. I have a cow. Pigs are arriving soon. I got all sorts of stuff.
And
And
you allowed to talk
And
the
and
shell,
what?
the tortoises.
oh yes. Oh, lots of tortoises as well. Yep.
I have those. I have 2 of them.
wow.
He raises tortoises. He actually is a cow, a literal cow.
What are you doing with a cow? Are you milking it?
Yeah, I'll have a calf in July. So yeah.
Jax, you want to go up to John's
You're not
house
going
and
to
see a
eat it,
cow?
are you?
Well, it depends on if the calf is a steer. I gotta raise that up. I'll have some meat.
Okay, let me just give you a tip. Do not name it.
Oh, see, I have no problem with that. I'll name it and I'll still eat it. And
but
I'll be
the
happy
kids-
eating Baxter.
No.
8 months from now.
No, the wife and the kids won't be able to eat it. I'm telling you. I know people that have done that. Anyway, let's get
Well,
back.
it means more for me.
No, more for Mike. Mike could use a steak right about now.
I actually used to have a tortoise. His name was Sal.
Sal the
There you go,
tortoise.
Yeah.
Oh, probably the sulcata, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean. So what's kicking?
All right, let's talk about guns.
Sure.
How about that?
The 5 things you ought to know. You ought to know. We should have Alanis Morris.
Isn't there a radio
kick this
show
off.
called that? You ought to know.
I think
Yeah, so, you go online, you'll hear, about 55 different things that every gun owner should know. So I put together my own little list here, and if someone follows all these 5 rules, these 5 how-tos, it's a very high likelihood you'll never need to call me because if you mess up any one of these things, you very well may need a lawyer one day, and we'll talk about that. But in my mind, if someone was this is not just for new gun owner, but it's for every gun owner. But especially if you're just getting into guns, you just buy your first firearm. I think these are going to be very helpful, especially if you take them to heart and you implement them in your life. So I'd say first and foremost, you got to know, understand, and follow the gun safety rules. I think too often people can recite these rules, but they don't necessarily understand and implement them. But basically what it is you treat all guns as if they are loaded. You never point a gun at anything that you're willing to destroy. You have to keep your finger off the trigger. And, not willing to destroy. Not finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard until you decide to shoot. And you got to know your target and what's behind it. Now, it's very easy. You memorize these and even follow them. But I also say it's really good to understand these rules because these rules and how they operate, they're fail-safe. So even if you happen to not follow one of them, if you're following the others, maybe the gun goes off when it shouldn't, or you're firing in the wrong direction. But if you're following the other rules, very likely that'll keep someone from getting injured. So that's the benefit of these rules. But it's truly incredibly important to learn these rules, memorize them by heart to give you an understanding. My 4-year-old, my 6-year-old, they can all recite these rules. They all know these rules, and they understand these rules when it comes to firearms. And neither of them have ever even shot a gun.
Well, didn't you just ruin Alec Baldwin's case?
Yeah, I mean,
really?
The day that news broke, I published my own opinion on that, and I said it's his fault. It's only his fault, and he's the only one to blame.
Right.
And that's true. It is. He had a gun in his hand, and he's the responsible party. So if you follow those rules, none of that happens.
Right.
And so first and foremost, that's rule number one: is follow those 4 rules.
And
second one,
for something truly, you know how many of those, like something truly, for someone to get shot, if someone actually gets shot, really truly, for something truly tragic to happen, you have to break all of those rules, all 4.
Which he did.
I mean, if you're only following just one of the 4,
yeah,
you potentially save a life. But if you follow all 4,
No, that's what I was saying. The rules are set up to where they're fail-safe. So even if you don't follow all of them, if you're following at least some of them, very likely that's going to decrease the likelihood of someone actually being injured. So if someone gets injured by a gun, it's because you've broken all the rules.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, and it's somewhat related, is I say you need to become proficient and familiar with your gun. And what I mean by that is not that you go to the gun range all the time and you can pull the trigger and you have a really good aim and really good shot. What I mean by that is you have to know how your gun functions, how it operates, how it works. You got to learn to manipulate that gun and be proficient with the manipulation. So if you have a semi-automatic handgun, I want to be familiar with releasing the magazine, racking the slide, locking the slide back, releasing the slide forward, putting in a new magazine. You want to be able to be so familiar with your gun, it's not a struggle to operate it, and clear a malfunction or to load the magazine or unload it. And when you do all this stuff and you practice, one of the main things you got to be careful on is you got to go back to that rule number one, which is follow all those gun safety rules, because most negligent discharges, they always happen, when someone's manipulating a gun or cleaning their gun. So you got to make sure that you follow those gun safety rules when you're doing this practice. But you got to be familiar with your gun. And I'll give you an example. There's a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, that, they went out and bought a gun because, they wanted a gun for safety reasons. So they buy that gun and then they put it in their drawer in their safe and they haven't touched it since. And I've literally had people call me that, bought their first gun 2 years ago, and they have called me and said, "Hey, John," I know them, and they're like, I got my gun, it's in my drawer, but can we, go over how to take it out, unload it, figure it out? Because since they bought that gun, they haven't even touched it, and they don't know how to unload their gun or how to safely, hold their gun and operate it. So I think it's really important that you got to become familiar with the gun. And so, take your gun, make sure that it's unloaded, ammunition out of the room, and then sit down, manipulate, move your gun, work all the parts, figure out, learn how it functions, and become familiar with operating that gun in every aspect. And that will go a long way. And it also will help prevent any type of negligent discharge or any type of accident with the gun when you know how a gun operates. Let's see. So number 3, and this is, you're talking to a lawyer, so I always say you got to know your state and local laws. It doesn't matter why you've bought a gun, if it's for self-defense in the home or for carrying purposes or just for recreational shooting, especially in a state like California. You absolutely have to pay attention to not only the current laws, but proposed upcoming laws and new laws. Because in a state like California, we get about 5 new gun laws every single year in this wonderful state. And, you'd think we'd become that much more safer with everyone, but that's just not the case. But a lot of people, I get a lot of phone calls of, with people that are in sort of legal trouble or have some legal liability because they weren't up to date or they didn't understand their state and local laws. So to give an example, if you have a firearm in your home for self-defense, you need to know, what are the self-defense laws in your state. You need to understand, what type of liability you may incur if someone's to break in and you use your gun in self-defense. If you go to the range and you just use your gun for fun recreational shooting, well, you got to understand the laws that surround traveling with a firearm. You can't just throw your gun in the glove box and drive to the range. You got to have safe storage requirements and travel requirements when it comes to firearms. If you own any type of AR-15 or what they call assault weapon in California or assault style rifle, you got to understand California changes the definition of assault weapon about every year these days, and so you got to understand what is and what's not an assault weapon. But
John, and just to add on to your point there too, for people that travel. If you're going out of state, going to other states, it's your responsibility to know what the laws are in that state if you're going to bring your firearm with you. And they are all kind of different, and they're not rational, and they don't all make sense.
Exactly. And another good example here is if you have a gun, you carry concealed. You have a concealed carry permit. In this state currently, it's still you're still allowed to have a high-capacity magazine. Some issuing agencies in certain counties allow you to have a high-capacity magazine that's lawfully owned in your carry gun. But if you go into the city of Los Angeles, you can't have that high-capacity magazine. So you got to be aware of not only your state laws, but also the local laws. So it's your responsibility. You're never going to be able to say to a court or a police officer, hey, I just didn't know about the law. I'm sorry. I didn't know. That's never an excuse. It's never going to be a defense to any type of charge or criminal charge. So it's your responsibility to stay up to date on that.
That's the fourth one?
That was 3.
There was 3. All right, 4.
Number 4, I'd say would be to buy the proper gear. So if you're going to be carrying your gun concealed or open carry or go hunting with it or even just have your gun at home, you need the proper gear. That's whether it's the proper gun belt or the proper holster
that is
or the
crucial.
proper ammunition or the proper gun safe if you want to store your firearm. This is not the time to skimp out. It's the time to buy the right equipment that will last, that will not fail on you, because that's another instance where accidents happen when you kind of go the cheaper route and your equipment fails on you. Someone can get hurt,
and
whether it's yourself or someone else.
And what's the 5th one?
The 5th one, get involved. You got to start supporting the gun rights groups that are quite literally making it to where you can actually still have your gun, still buy a gun, especially in states like California. They are doing everything they can to keep you from being able to own and possess firearms. So if you're going to be a gun owner, I'm sorry, but you got to be a Second Amendment advocate these days. And you have to get involved, whether it's monetarily or you involve your time in your own personal efforts. You got to protect your own rights.
So are you going to deliver this calf? Because if you are, I want a video.
I want to see that,
I'll
too.
film it.
I can't wait for you to do that. It's going to land right on you, and I'm going to love every minute of it.
I'm going to hold the camera from the other end.
Farmer John. That's going to be change all your business cards. Farmer John, the attorney. Thanks buddy.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.